All right, let's jump into media day, and we'll talk. And we are going to have the conversation about the impact of Jamison Purcell, the quarterback class of 2027 who just committed. We'll have it after because I know it's like, all right, let's talk about media day. But we are going to have that conversation because I can't overstate enough how big of a deal that is. But let's get into media day. I want to start with the first, or actually, no, we can start here. I want to start with the first quote I saw. It was about Mikhail Kamara. And I think the lead-in was like, how are you celebrating like being named to the preseason All Big Ten team or whatever it was? And he said he crushed an entire 40-ounce tomahawk by himself.
I saw that. Yeah, he's not. He doesn't sound. Yeah, it's. I'd be scared if I was a quarterback and I heard that. So.
Terrified. 40,
I'd be
40 ounce. Oh my God.
They said if he was like, they said it fed 2, and he was like, I needed like more food afterwards.
Yeah, he said I crushed it.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, I think he's gonna break that sack record this year. 16. What can I get Vegas odds for over 15?
You could probably find him on Kashi or something, or that app that lets you just like bet on wild stuff.
It's probably like good. It's probably a juicy number too.
I wrote down the Barry Odom quote, or I didn't write down the Barry Odom quote. I wrote down the Barry O quote, but like to talk about it. But then we got the Cignetti quote over the top of it, which was just so funny, and he absolutely sunned him. So we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, but read both quotes.
Barry Odom took a tongue-in-cheek shot at Indiana, basically saying that there's a team in the state that
I want the quote.
You got to go find it. Then I'm not going to go find it. I'm not putting any
a flicker
in my mind. I think it's funny. 2 reasons. One, like great move by Barry Odom to bring a little relevance to his program that nobody's talking about. Great. Take a cheap shot at your rival. Easy, obvious. I thought it was interesting, even though everybody knew who he was talking about, that he didn't mention Indiana by name.
He didn't mention Indiana, but we just assumed it's about. Oh, I don't know if it's necessarily about us then. Probably looking too much into it.
No, it was definitely about us. But
if you didn't mention us by name, Cignetti mentions everyone by name.
They asked Cignetti about Barry Odom taking a shot. This was at Sig's breakout. So there was 3 different portions of the media day. You had the like podium style like press conference, which was basically just a speech. Then you have the players and coach at the Big Ten desk in 2 separate 15-minute breakouts. Then you have the coaches and the players each sit at like an actual legitimate press conference, which I ended up missing I don't even think the players presser happened yet, but I ended up missing the Sig breakout to check Brad's appearance out on the Big Ten show. So I wrote down the quotes from Michael Niziolic. So shout out to Michael Niziolic for getting all those out there. But they asked him about the Barry Odom quote, and he said, I like Barry Odom. I didn't think much of it. That would be an overstatement, meaning like, and then what was the quote? He said,
he meant understatement.
No, he said, I didn't think much of it. That would be an overstatement. So he's saying not thinking much of it would actually be overstating how much he didn't think of it.
He was a flicker of a thought, is what he called Barry Odom.
Yes, Pitt Hoosier. Barry Odom was doing that team up north thing, which is I think it's so lame, but whatever. Listen, whatever you got to do to get traditions rolling and all that good stuff, but this isn't a.
They call it the team down south. If I say the team up north, I'm talking about Notre Dame. That's how much Purdue is.
You can call us the team that wins. How about that?
Yeah. 66-0.
But we'll go chronologically for the presser. So we first got Sig at the podium, then we got Cignetti at the desk, then we got Fisher Surratt Kamara at the desk, and then there was obviously the Sig breakout, and then the player breakout will happen at some point, probably during this show. They said they moved the media days to Vegas for logistics, and it's just like it's now 8:15 and there's still like press conference notes coming out on the East Coast. It's like 75% of the Big Ten's on Eastern or Central time. So obviously a very monetary
LA times out, They don't have
it helps the 4 West Coast schools the most. It's like it's so dumb. But Cignetti opened his like podium presser by stating that Indiana's been around for 126 seasons, and last year was the best one. He called them 1 out of 126, which was electric. And I will say, before we get into all these quotes, I speculated last week that we were going to get a toned down version of Cignetti. We're not essentially going to get that like rah rah fire up the fan base style of quote. And while the SEC quote obviously is going to catch like wildfire, I don't think there was one of those moments of like we're gonna play this soundbite over and over again. Now from his like sitting at the desk with the Big Ten, and we'll get into that quote, which was electric. We'll talk. That one will be played.
I'm getting live reactions on most of this, so I haven't had a chance to watch any of it.
He pointed to staff continuity as a big part of their success, and they were the first staff in NCAA history to go 10-0 at 2 different schools, and they did so in back-to-back years, which is wildly impressive.
Wow.
Yeah, let that sink in for a second. First staff in NCAA history to go 10-0 at 2 different schools, and they did it in consecutive years.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like, so many staffs that move. You know, people don't just go 10-0 in their first year. So that's like a big probably thing of it. I'm trying to think. Wait. There's never been another staff to go 10, like even if it's at the same school.
What? No, at 2 different schools.
Oh, at 2 different schools. Okay. So I feel like a staff has gone 10-0 before, but I would be
like you could look at
that'd be like Nick Saban and
that's what I was thinking too, or like Urban Meyer. Maybe
like
10-0 though, not 10 wins, 10-0.
10-0. Yeah, because some of those teams drop one in like week 7. So and then they'll win out. Huh. That's something to look into.
John saying never been a head coach or staff.
Huh.
We are just like it's just another reminder that of what we're actually witnessing in real time, and not to take it for granted. He said everyone's asking him like how do you expect to sustain what's going on here? He said they're not looking to sustain, they're looking to improve. Talked about having a blueprint, being organizationally disciplined, being consistent, fast, physical, relentless, smart, disciplined, poised. Like every play has got a the Curt Cignetti spiel, and just kind of talk like you can tell when he goes into these like, I don't want to call them recordings, but just like he says the same monikers over and over and over again, that it's just like he hits like this different flow, and it's just like you listen to this guy talk about a football program and you're like, I'm so happy he's the person pulling all the levers. Like it's actually insane. And it's these are the little like boring nothing quotes that people aren't going to talk about, that aren't going to grab headlines, that aren't going to set the southeastern United States ablaze for 2 weeks. But it's like that's the reason why the guy is so good, because when the doors close and when it's just him and his team, that's what he's telling them. Like, we have to be consistent. We have to do the right thing every single day. And like a big part of like why a lot of the kids in the class of 2026 seem to be so bought in is like, it's a standard. Like it's not just Indiana wants you, like you have to want to be at Indiana. Like it is, while it makes you a better player, and it's not easy to be held to a standard that's that rigorous every single day. And so it takes a special type of athlete to be able to even thrive in an environment like that. And they have a lot of diamonds around there. So
yeah, it's it's not just, I think a big reason why like these kids are excited is because I think you get a mature group of kids that are looking at it from a lens where this is actually going to set me up for the next level, not just like playing professionally, but just like after college. Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go into coaching? Am I going to be a trainer? Am I going to go into the corporate world? Am I going to do this? And like just having standards built into you and ingrained is something that will translate for life. And I think that's another big sell of it. It's not obviously set you up for the league, but also, you're going to have a career after the league as well. And then to maintain being in the league, the not for long, NFL, how do you stay in it for more than 3 years, which is what most players do, is they, 3 and out, in the NFL. So yeah, it sets these kids up not just the athlete, but also the student,
Yes, because the
doing
NCAA cares
something
about
big,
its student
doing
athletes.
something bigger than what's the NCAA thing of doing something bigger and something other than sports or something like that, right?
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
This was a common theme that Sig kind of repeated throughout the day. But he kind of finished up talking about his like initial speech with the team's got a lot of really nice pieces. And they have to mold together as a group. They have to mold together as a team. So the parts are great, but they need to become a team. And so that's what fall camp's going to be about. Is like, and I talked about this with Mark Rogers earlier today. Is like you have, Fernando Mendoza, transfer quarterback. You have Pat Coogan, transfer center. You have Mikowski, transfer right tackle. Khalil Benson, who also might be factoring in a right tackle. We'll see. Was at Indiana, transferred back. You have Roman Hemby transfer. Like you have a couple of different transfers on the defense. So it's like it's not that the talent's there. It's like, okay, cool. How do they come together as a team? And that's what fall camp's going to be about.
That's what Cignetti's good at too, it seems like. So, as long as the talent is there, which we see not just at the top level, which we had last year, but I would say improved at the one spot and then significantly elevated on the second string line. The depth on this team, like you said, it's just all about coming together because their level of execution last year was phenomenal. I mean, they were one of the best, that EPA, like all those PFF rankings, like they loved the Hoosiers metrically, just based on, just being able to execute. Those are like execution metrics. And they're able to consistently do that over and over and over again, not listen to the hype. And, probably their most hyped up game all year was the Nebraska game. And they came out of there. Obviously, they played Ohio State, but, Nebraska at home, that's a easy trap, right? 56-7, didn't matter. Right. And I'm like trying to like pick apart. Like I was thinking the other day how like Wisconsin could be a trap game. And I'm just like, then I get back on here and I'm just like, I mean, they're just going to out execute Wisconsin. It doesn't matter how good Wisconsin is or, how good they are that day, or they're just going to out execute them for 4 quarters, fast, physical, relentless. That's just what they do. And that's why I made the call on the Mark Rogers show, 11-1, new blood. They're gonna surprise a lot of people again. It's gonna piss a lot of people off because they've wanted their teams to do this for a while, and that to go back to back 10. I looked it up. There hasn't been a single team to go 10. And now this year we'll have to beat Oregon and Penn State to do this. But I looked it up, and there's not a single team ever. They brought up ChatGPT brought up 90s Florida State, Bama, Texas, Clemson, obviously. In recent memory, none of those teams did it. None of those teams went back-to-back 10-0. And Cignetti's staff was able to do that with obviously playing maybe lower-level competition for the first year, but still. I mean, it worked. The fact that he's able to do it at 2 different schools is just insane, right?
But listen, to quote the man before he opened it up for questions, it'll all be done between the white lines. So you can talk like all this talk is fun.
He said that first. That was the first thing he said.
No, that was like the last thing he said before he opened it up to questions.
Yeah.
It'll all be done between the white lines.
I like that. That's good. Clearly, guys like Brandon Walker don't listen to the entire press conference.
The only time he appears on my timeline is when Indiana fans are responding to him grifting about Indiana. Like, I just don't like. I know it's kind of fun to like call him an idiot, but like you don't have to follow him, Like I just don't follow the guy. Like I don't. He doesn't. Much like Barry Odom to Curt Cignetti. Like he's a flicker of a thought. Like I don't.
Oh come on, Brandon Walker's pretty relevant, but it's
why is no? I don't want to like be. I really don't watch the guy. Like I'm not a fan. Like I guess I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I don't really
like,
listen to his stuff anymore,
I don't want to be like I'm not trying to like. I find myself disagreeing with a lot of his opinions, and I don't watch his content. It doesn't. I'm not like. If you don't like him, you don't have to watch. You know what I mean?
I like seeing all the opinions that are out there. It gives me a.
Listen, if the guy's gonna be talking about the SEC, because I know that's his background and his slant and where he's coming from, maybe I'll listen to it. If he's got Mike Kadick on, like I'll probably listen to that because I love Mike Kadick. But I digress.
Yeah.
To Easter, I like the fact that in college football, there's just like you made this point. There's 130. What is it? Two,
This is
4,
126, 136, something like that.
Yeah, FBS teams like it, and there's even more FCS. Like everyone can have a voice in college football. That's what's like. There's no like that, and that's part of what's been so fun about this. Like for Indiana fans, is like we're now a part of the national conversation, and a lot of people don't really like that. But he opened it up to questions. The first question for Curt Cignetti was a 2-part question. They asked him one about Fernando Mendoza, and then 2, how did the success of last season impact the like off season and impact like the vibe around the program. So they basically said like they were aware of Fernando because they had Alberto on campus. Alberto, obviously, as we know, was a JMU commit before he ended up following the staff over to Indiana. He said they watched a lot of tape on Fernando once he hit the portal. It was his size, mobility, quick release, and his intelligence that really stood out. And that's something that the quick release and the arm talent is something that Cignetti praised over and over again today.
I love that Cignetti is just always watching film and just like knows these guys. Like as soon as they hit the portal, like he already knows them. He already knows how they play. He's not just watching Indiana film. He's watching film. He probably watches every game from the past year. I bet money he's watched every single game from the past year at the FBS, between 2 FBS schools. He's watched every single game. I promise. It's insane. And the fact that it seemed like, just based on that quote, seems like they were on him really quick. I mean, that just comes from, like, that was before any sort of 24/7 rating drops or anything like that. He sees in the portal, they're already calling him. And obviously they had his brother, so obviously they're watching film on him. That's a good reason too. But, I mean, it's just insane. I'm sure it's with all these guys, like Stephen Daly, Hosea Wheeler. Like, Wheeler was, like, the first commitment this past portal, right? He was, like, the first one they got. He's probably
there
like
was I saw Buffton Prime start tweeting about Wheeler. I saw Buffton Prime release like the breakdown with Wheeler of like the film, which like I saw, and then like a week later it was like he's taking his official visit to Indiana, and then like before he even got there, he was on the team. Like it's like when Brian Haynes and Pat Coons lock in on somebody, like you're coming to Indiana. Like you just don't say no to those guys.
Insane.
Absolutely insane.
No, everything Mendoza, I said it on the show. It really comes down to Mendoza and how good he is. I'm buying stock.
Well, I mean, you're not the only one buying stock after today because it was a Mendoza love fest.
The dude's you remember we were talking about this before. Remember his Nicole Auerbach NBC Sports
interview? I'm glad you said that because there was also a picture that came out of Cignetti sitting across from Nicole Auerbach, and that at least to my knowledge hasn't dropped yet. But like you're about to say, that Fernando Mendoza interview, incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he said like they were at the thing that really got me, and how I know, for obviously, great kid, super motivated. That really came off in the interview. But the one little thing I noticed was like she asked him, "What do you do for fun?" And the first word out of his mouth was community. Like this guy's a weird, like weirdo alien, like only likes ball. Like I love it. Wouldn't have it any other way as my quarterback. He's like Tebow. Like Tebow is a little weird guy. And like fiery, don't get me wrong, fiery, like run through a brick wall, but like Tebow is not like the kind of the cooler guy we know today. I remember him, like he was like an alien back in like just that's all he cared about was like football. I literally don't care about anything else. I don't care. It's insane. That's the vibe he gives off. And yeah, I know. And obviously he's big in the community because that's probably all he does is ball. And then he probably helps out in the community with whatever team he has. I mean, I
guess it kind of just makes sense to lump all the Mendoza stuff together.
Yeah, no, actually, you're driving the bus. I'm the one kind of
too many different quotes around here. The second part of that first question was, how did the success of the season impact change? And he said it helped incredibly with money money towards both academics and athletics. It helped tremendously in recruiting. And he said, we've got better looking athletes coming through the doors now. So you're still getting high quality, high character kids, but it's just that next level up. And that's something that we've seen happen in real time. And it's nice to hear, like he's acknowledging the obvious, obviously, but
it makes me think that like year one is like the ceiling. Like, yeah, 11-1 with a really
year one's you mean the floor?
The floor. That's what I meant. I meant floor. All right. Let's start over. then we can clip this. we can clip this. It makes me think that year one is the floor in terms of what Indiana can be, right? Just the fact that they're only going to get better athletes. The continuity on the coaching staff continues and probably will continue moving forward as Haynes and Shanahan are locked in long term. Really no reason for them to go anywhere unless it's another, honestly, like not even just a power 2 job, but I don't think they're going to go to Northwestern. You know what I mean?
That was Sig also said that the Power 4 were circling those guys like sharks, and that's something I wrote about back in January, and I can continue to write about when USC tried to go get Derek Owings. Is like, you just can't take these guys anymore.
It's kind of scary, but like, I mean, I'll call it how it is. Like, probably an easier schedule last year. You know, draw a couple. You know, you mix it up and we draw maybe a USC or a different collective of teams. Maybe we don't go 11-1. Maybe we go 9-3 at the worst. Worst case. That's how I see this team moving forward. Like 9-3 is really the floor every year for this team. Like I don't see it any other way. I really don't.
Well, yeah. Sig also said, "What's cheap don't last. What lasts ain't cheap." It's all about building it the right way. He talked about a top-down approach.
Guy has so many. Where's he come up with this stuff? He has so many.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I gotta write this down. I wrote it down.
I need to have it on my own wall and like wake up every day and read that. Like, it's not even about like the football thing. It's like, this is how you need to operate.